Welcome back, everyone. I'm doing another Pokken tournament speculation video. This time, I want to talk about possible engines they can use for the game. What I would like to see as far as engines go is kind of like a modified Tekken engine. Giving it some thought, I actually kind of like them not using the high, mid, low mix-up system, just because of how other Japanese fighting games tend to work. If you look at Dragon Ball Z, they don't have a high, mid, low mix-up system. It's purely a fantasy fighter. All attacks are pretty much center mass, and that's how you're going to deal most of your damage, as well as doing things with projectiles. Even if you look at the Naruto fighting game, Class of Ninja for GameCube, they also have a one block system where the game doesn't have high, mid, low mix-ups. You typically just push one button to do all of your attacks. So I can kind of see that working here as well, but I don't want the game to be overly simplified. Harada did say that Pokemon fans, both casual and competitive, will be able to enjoy the game. The one thing I don't want to see is the game go too casual in terms of anybody can pick up the game and win, because that's not what a fighting game should be about. That's not even what competition should be about. Competition should always be the better player wins. In most cases, not let's find a way to handicap good players so that way bad players can fight on the same level. Now, the Naruto Storm series is a fighting game, but it's something you would call a circle fighter, where both characters are on the screen. There's only one camera that watches both the characters, and you kind of move around the board, trying to get positioning on people, throwing projectiles back and forth at them, and going in and doing your attacks. Also, like the Naruto Storm series, it's typically a one-button fighter. I believe you only push circle to do all of your attacks. Triangle does chakra-based attacks. I believe X or square might be projectiles. I know one of them launch, allow you to dash at your opponent. I actually don't play the game, but my brother does. But it's pretty much a one-button fighter. You do all your combos by mashing circle, and you can kind of jump in, do a combo cancel to actually go in and continue your combos again. Again, it is kind of an oversimplified system. I want to see maybe something like that, but on Tekken's engine, because as you all know, Tekken is a fast fighting game. So Tekken never really had problems with attacks like projectiles and stuff, just because the projectiles always took 15 frames just to even get started. It's not like it is in Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, where characters just throw projectiles back and forth the entire fight for the first 30-40 seconds before somebody actually goes in and start attacking. Tekken kind of balances that out by making projectiles strong, as in they're not blockable, but they take a very long time to charge, so it gives your opponent a chance to duck them if they can be ducked, or sidestep if they can be sidestepped. This brings me into the point for a fighting system versus I guess an arena type fighter. What I mean by that is you have 2D fighters and you have 3D fighters. I don't mean 3D fighters like Power Stone or anything like that. I mean 3D fighters like Tekken, where you actually can move along a Z-axis, so that way you can sidestep opponents' attacks. For a Pokemon game, I have debated whether or not it should be a 2D fighter or a 3D fighter. The benefits of having the system being 2D is you don't have to worry about sidestepping attacks, but it doesn't really give good players chance for good counter movement options. If you look at Killer Instinct, it's a 2D fighter. Mortal Kombat is also a 2D fighter. But in Killer Instinct, when characters are throwing projectiles back and forth at each other, the projectiles collide. I don't think all projectiles collide, but most projectiles collide. They explode when a projectile hits another projectile. So you don't have situations where the projectiles go through one another. Street Fighter is also the same way. Projectiles collide. Unless you meter burn it to where your projectile gets armor, it'll go through your opponent's projectile. But that's at the cost of using meter. In Mortal Kombat, projectiles don't collide. So if you had two Sub-Zeros fighting each other and both of them did Ice Blast, the Ice Blast would just go between, go through each other. You also have some very spammy characters like Sindel in Mortal Kombat 9, who's really hard to get to because all of her projectiles are really fast and she can cover any angle. And then when you get close to her, she does like her Ivory Cutter kicks and stuff like that. Knocks you back to the other side of the screen and start doing projectiles. So when you start looking at things like this, it's like I don't want this game to be a 2D fighter because Pokemon is a very projectile heavy game. Hardly none of the characters ever fight. They're always shooting things back and forth at each other. Even though Lucario is more of a physical fighter, Lucario still shoots projectiles. I think Machamp will probably be the most tamed in this because Machamp doesn't really have projectiles he can do. I guess you can kind of count Stone Edge as a projectile, but I'm actually talking like straight fireballs if you could just shoot them back and forth across the screen. So if they do want to make this game a 2D fighter, they should make projectiles collide. But they should also have a meter system in the game where you can't spam fireballs. And what I mean by that is kind of have like a PowerPoint system. Like a character has like 4 PowerPoints or whatever. Every fireball that character shoots takes half a PowerPoint. And whenever you want to meter burn something, it takes a whole PowerPoint. So for instance, if I'm Pidgeot and I'm throwing air slashes at my opponent, every air slash will take half a bar of meter. So I can only throw 8 max. What that is going to do is it's going to prevent that character from spamming projectiles the entire time, especially if it's a 2D fighter, because projectiles can only be avoided 1 of 3 ways. You can jump over the projectile if the projectile isn't, a full screen projectile or a high projectile. You can straight up block the projectile and you take a little bit of damage. I know Tekken isn't big on guard damage, so I don't expect guard damage to be a thing in this game, though there should be an option in the settings for the game to turn on block damage. Back in Tekken 3, you had the option to turn off guard damage or turn it on. It's just more settings, like leave it off by default, but for instance, different rule sets might be used for tournaments where you want to turn guard damage on. And 3, you can duck projectiles low. Now, they said they're not going to have a high, mid, low guard system, but I still don't think that doesn't mean that they should at least be able to duck certain projectiles. Like, for instance, Lucario's Aura Spear looks like you can jump over it, but you might not be able to duck it. But then again, I don't have a feel of actually how high the characters can jump in the game, because they said this is kind of going to be like an action fighter. I'm not familiar with action fighter. I guess the Naruto game that they had on the PS2, where it was like open world, you fought different bad guys. Whenever you ran into them, it'd go to a battle screen. I don't know if it's going to be like that. I have no idea. We just saw the Pokemon fighting. So if they're going to do a 2D fighter, projectile balance should be a thing. Projectiles should be fast, and they shouldn't hit as hard. In Tekken, some things like Alyssa's rockets and Devil Jin's lasers can't be blocked, and they deal a lot of damage. I don't want to see an instance in this game where certain projectiles can't be blocked. Like, if they are going to be using meter, then they can have a meter burn version of it to where it's unblockable, it breaks the guard, or it makes them stagger if they do block it. So kind of something like that. Now, another system they could possibly use is a 3D fighting system where characters can move forward, move back, they can duck, they can jump, and they can sidestep. The benefits to this here is you can actually sidestep certain attacks to counterattack your opponent and punish them. Now, this adds a whole new level of complexity to the game, but it also helps balance out projectiles as well. Like if they wanted to take the Tekken approach for projectiles to where they were unblockable and did a lot of damage, projectiles would have a lot of startup frames, like 15 frames versus like the 3 that's in like other fighting games. And you can sidestep these projectiles. The only issue with that is it creates a system where some characters are used over others just because they have fast projectiles. If you look at Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, I main Sub-Zero in that game. And a lot of people online played Deathstroke. And the reason for that was Sub-Zero's projectile was very slow in that game. You could hardly hit anybody with a freeze blast. If they were a good player, you just wasn't hitting them with it. And Deathstroke, his gun, and guns are fast. His gun, as soon as he pulls it out and shoots it, you're getting hit by it. So I don't want to see projectile bias like that if they're going to incorporate it. So if they are going to use projectiles for a 3D fighting system, the projectiles need to be fast. They should, I guess, kind of be spammable so you can actually try to hit someone with it, but it should have the same meter system where each projectile takes half a bar of meter, and you have 4 total bars of meter that you can actually build up throughout the course of the battle. So this is going to encourage people to actually get in and fight. But some Pokemon purely attack just by doing this, so it'll be kind of hard to balance that as well, which is another reason why putting 4-legged Pokemon in a game is also kind of impractical, just because with a meter system like that, it's just really hard for them to actually fight decently well in the game. So either way, I wanna see a 3D fighting system, just because I prefer more complexity when it comes to certain things like that. If they do make it a 2D fighter, then it's no loss. It's easy. It's accessible to casual players, and competitive players are familiar with 2D fighters. I mean, we've got Mortal Kombat, we've got Street Fighter, we've got not Tekken, Killer Instinct, and we also got Marvel vs. Capcom. And there's actually a handful of 3D fighters. We've got Skullgirls and stuff like that. So I think people prefer 2D fighters just because it's the most balanced system for a fighting game. Because once you allow that third dimension, you have to kind of expect other things to happen. Now, the next thing that I think would be cool for this game would be a counter and breaker system. If you've ever played Tekken, then you will know how much it sucks to get hit into like a huge 14 hit combo and you just have to sit there and eat the whole thing. I don't like eating combos. Sure, I like it when I deal these combos with other people though, but it sucks when you go in to attack your opponent, you get hit with a counter hit, your character falls over and they get this big combo off it. I actually want to see a counter system in this game and a breaker system, because these are Pokemon. They have access to a lot more things that like a normal person couldn't do. For instance, if Pidgeot were to get into a combo, you can break the combo by simply flying out of the combo. In Tekken, Ogre, or True Ogre, and I believe some other winged characters, if you get them into a launch combo, if they time it right, they can hop out of the combo. But that system wasn't given to any other character in the game other than the winged characters. So they had a chance to actually jump out of your combo hit the ground and hit you back. But the thing is if you broke the combo in the wrong spot and got hit, I believe it resetted the damage and allowed your opponent to get bigger combos on you just because you failed it. In this system here, I want to see a straight up break system where the character just knocks the other character off of them and knocks both characters to the ground. Like, there's no follow up that can happen after the breaker. The breaker is the most dominant thing that happens, but the breaker would need to cost meter. It shouldn't be free. And if you want to kind of do it in a way that Killer Instinct does it, where you just have a combo breaker system where if you hit the right buttons that they hit, you break the combo. I don't want to see anything like that. Like, I do believe that if a player gets punished, they should get punished hard for it. But I never really did like systems where you get punished for doing like something very small and you get put in this big 15 hit combo and lose half your life. Like, an instance like this, there should be a combo breaking system just to kind of restore balance to the fight. As for a counter system, the counter system, it'll kind of be more like if somebody's putting pressure on you, you can parry certain attacks. You can grab certain attacks. Like, for instance, if like Lucario was punching like Machamp could grab one of the arms and throw him. And just stuff like that. Just little small things to make the game more complicated. And I've been thinking about items, and I kind of want to see items make it into the game, because items are kind of a big deal when it comes to Pokemon battles. It just allows you to randomly throw an unknown at your opponent. Like, I was playing Pokemon Wi-Fi the other day, and my opponent had a choice scarf like Togekiss, which was really hard to beat because he kept air slashing, but Zapdos kind of pulled it off for me. But still, something like that, where if like your opponent is playing a Machamp and they want to have choice scarf, then Machamp's movement speed increases, but he can't do something else. Like, if the game was a 3D fighter, they can make it to where you can't sidestep. You can only move back and forward. Or if it's like a 2D fighter, you make it to where like the character either can't jump, can't duck, or make it to where they can't block. But you kind of want to balance it to where it doesn't completely break the character in terms of their defenses. But something should be sacrificed in that instance. The item system, it has to work, because this here is a Pokemon fighting game, so you're obviously going to have to change a lot of things, and I don't want to see certain items that could be good just be bad because they had no other way to implement that item for the system. Like, don't put every single Pokemon hold item in the game. I think you should look at things like leftovers. You should probably look at the choice items, Assault Vest, maybe Life Orb. It's just really hard to figure out anything else. I mean, I guess the berries would be good too. Like, if your life gets down to a certain point, your character gets a power boost for like 15 or 20 seconds or something like that. Or they heal some health. And going back to bird Pokemon, I think they should have like their own kind of physics system for the game. If you've played Tekken, Namco, they're not strangers to characters with wings. They worked with characters with wings for a very long time. So I think they can do bird Pokemon justice. But the one thing that they shouldn't do is they shouldn't make them fly the entire fight. They should be grounded. They should walk on the ground, and they should only fly when you use a move that will require them to fly. Like Devil Jin, he has a move to where he jumps up there in the air and floats for a little bit, and you could do a couple of things. You can do a fly kick down, you can either shoot a laser, or you can do a grab. For this system, I kind of want to see that same thing here. You can jump up in the air, you can do a kick down, you can either shoot a projectile, or you can grab them from the air. What I also want to see is like a system where the birds are actually flying. They're not flying in the air, of course. They're like flying level to the ground, and they can just like throw kicks at the opponent. But for the most part, they should be grounded and fighting like the other characters in the game do. I think it'd be very interesting to see what they can do with them. I actually look forward to it. But they shouldn't make them always flying, just because it kind of takes away the vision that I was like kind of hoping that they would have. But I think that's pretty much it that I got when it comes to like a physics engine or a fighting engine. Like I don't mind the low high mid or the high mid low mix up system, because a lot of other Japanese fighting games don't really use it as well, like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. But the problem with these games are they tend to be very simplistic, and they tend to have a lot of pre-programmed things in the game. Like I still want to see a combo system where you can create your own combos like you do in Tekken. I guess I don't want to see 10-hit combos in this game, just purely because of the point there aren't going to be any mix-ups. But I have faith that they can actually pull this engine off. Like if they could mix it between like Tekken's engine and maybe Naruto's Storm engine, then it'll be good. The game would have to be fast though, and judging on what I saw from Machamp and Lucario, the game will be fast. So that about wraps up this video here. If you guys liked it, leave comments below about what you think they should do for an engine, things you would like to see, things you wouldn't want to see, and like the video and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be doing coverage of this game all throughout its development, and hopefully we get some new footage here so we can actually identify certain things that we see in the game. So this is Phoenix 3, and I'll see you guys later.